Minsan Football Show brought to you by Upstream Sports TV. It is episode 4. Welcome back.
Let's go!
I am Jacob Lang, your host, and this is the show where we give you all the hot takes on the recent matches of the PFL and look ahead to the weekend's matches. So much drama taking place in the PFL this season. It's been so much fun to cover and to also talk about in midweek. Joining me today, of course, are our regulars. We've got Diego Cordero here, as well as back from the wilderness, Claro Manzano. Welcome back to the show. All right, we're gonna have a good one.
I didn't ditch you guys, okay? Just saying.
Siyempre, may game tayo sa weekend. So meron na naman tayong Minsan Football Show.
Right.
And we've got 5 matches to look forward to next weekend, but we just had a great set of matches in the recent days as well. So we're going to break all of those down, as well as look ahead to some things to look forward to in the world of Philippine football. How's it going, Claro? Welcome back to the show. Does it feel good to be back on the seat today?
Yeah. I'm glad you're taking that seat right now. Yeah, but I mean, di naman ako relaxed, diba? Because we got a lot to unpack, of course.
That's right. No Natasha Alquiros dito today. She is out in paradise, so she's taking an extra day there. But we still have a lot to talk about, and I'm sure we're going to be able to unpack everything that needs to be unpacked.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's go ahead and look ahead to or the recent matches that we had. Let's break those down. But before anything else, we would like to thank our drinks partner first. Thank you to Thirst. Kick off with savings this football season. Use code PFL2025 on the Thirst app for special discounts. Thirst is the Philippines' only beverage marketplace, so download the Thirst app today wherever you get your apps. All right, let's talk about the interesting games we had over the weekend. We had 5 of them, and it started off with a match between 2 teams that struggled in 2024, but are looking to change the narrative in this new season. A very interesting game. It was the first one for Don Bosco Garelli United, the Don Bosco Derby between them and Tuloy. We had Stallion FC and Cebu FC. That was late game drama, beautiful thing. We'll talk about that in a bit. Manila Digger versus Maharlika was a great game as well. Then we moved on to Sunday's matches where Kaya and Valenzuela PB Mendiola were in action, and then it was wrapped up with Taguig taking on the Aguilas UMAC. All right, so let's start off with Tuloy and Don Bosco Garelli United. The Don Bosco Derby, Garelli United playing their first match of the season. Sila lang ang hindi pa naglalaro in this one. They're up against Tuloy FC. I'm not gonna say anything just yet, but I'd like to get your first take on it, Claro.
For me, first, I think I'm the only one who had to make predictions from our group right
Yes.
here. Right? So the barometer would have to be how well did you do in that 2024 season? Mm-hmm. And then maybe with Tuloy, you could actually take a bit of that chunk when their boys played for the youth national team in the 24-25 season. So I had high expectations for Tuloy. I expected a bit better from Garelli, I will say, because they got a lot of reinforcements, right? And there's still some familiar names from that crew last time. So of course, you can expect better play, better chemistry. But Tuloy being Tuloy with that system that is amazing, they got the 3-0 win. Yeah.
That's right.
Teamwork.
Alalahanin natin, Tuloy FC, young players. It's a fully Filipino lineup, and they recruit from within that ecosystem, right? So you could say on paper they are hampered in their ability to recruit. Meanwhile, Garelli United had that extra week. Actually, they had like a lot of weeks actually to prepare, and they do have the ability to recruit foreign talent as well. So they did well in preseason, and they did end up in the 2024 season ahead of Tuloy. So, there were a lot of conditions that might say Garelli would take this one. Were you surprised by how one-sided the result was, Diego?
Well, from Tuloy's side, not surprised, because we know how good they are and what they try to do, which they did so well last Saturday. On the other side, though, for Don Bosco Garelli, I was a bit surprised, although they did create chances, and we also have to give credit to the Tuloy goalkeeper, si Antilio. What a performance, because if it weren't for him, the scoreline would be much more closer, probably. For Don Bosco Garelli, a lot of new recruits, and I think based on what I'm hearing, rumors I'm hearing online, the transfer window just shut last Sunday. So I believe Don Bosco Guerrilla United were able to still make more foreign signings, which we'll see probably in the next weekend. So they'll probably not panic too much. They'll probably say, we're going to get more firepower in the weeks to come. They have to brush this off because their schedule is going to be, because they already had their bye. Every team gets one bye because of the fact that there's 11 teams. No rest from this point onwards because they started the season last. They won't get any more breaks. They have to hit the ground running now because not an ideal start. Tuloy, exceptional. For Don Bosco Guerrilla United, okay, you didn't start the best, but there is still a lot of time and a lot of possible points for them to pick up.
Tuloy, extremely impressive. Of course, had the pleasure of calling that game. John Lloyd Halike, exceptional. Diaz on the right side, exceptional. Saud, Nunez, quiet to a lot because he didn't make any special assists, but just kept them clicking along. Beautiful. Well done from Tuloy FC. At sinabi nga natin na parang easy, how should you say, team to root for, no? And I think they showed why. Beautiful football and getting the 3 points against Don Bosco Guerrilla United. Let's move on to the next match, which was, I would say, the highlight of Saturday's matches, just because of the intensity that it was played and, of course, the drama that was involved. Diego, you did not get an opportunity, or you were not in stadium at the time, but I'm sure you were following along. Tell me a little bit about what your impressions were of the game and what impact do you think this has on the rest of the league?
I'm just going to say now, I was a bit surprised that there was no red card in this game, but the physicality of this game was really, really up there. You saw that both sides had probably an even chance to win the game. Stallion, in the end, I think they'll be very hard done by, and they'll be feeling that from 6 points, we only have one. And that came against two top 6 rivals. So they'll be feeling really discouraged, or how should I say this? They'll be feeling that they need to get back up and running sooner rather than later. For Cebu, on the other hand, what a smash and grab that was. The last minute goal, I think it was the last kick of the game. And yeah, we love to see it. We love to see these moments. Rico Andes continuing his goal scoring form. He scored also against Taguig, I think we called that game.
Yep.
And he's been scoring also in the Shopee Cup. So what a season Rico Andes is having so far. Yeah, Cebu will walk away with this one happy, also because they need to get up and running because of their next game, which we'll get to later. And yeah, for Stallion, not ideal.
I believe, just to get the technicalities straight, second to the last kick of the game. That was
It was 3.
Okay, all right.
Nagbilang tayo nun, Cheng, I remember. Anyway,
Third to the last, and then I think the only bookings came from, I think, being mouthy. I think it was. I don't remember was there anything physical? At least not from a bad challenge. I don't recall. Do you?
First yellow, like, hey, Jing, it's only the first yellow, and we're like in the 45th minute at the time.
Right.
And it was Charlie Beaton saying something, I think.
Yes.
Right.
So parang, yun nga, expect natin a physical, and nag-deliver naman. It was very, very physical, but the boys kept it clean despite the intensity. But Clara, you had the pleasure of calling that game. What stuck out to you in that match, and were you surprised at all by anything?
You and I had the pleasure of calling that, of course. The emotions described it, I'd like to think, when Rico scored that goal, breakthrough goal, right? Yeah. And with that, of course, I'm at a loss of words just to describe that one, of course. Because, yes, Stallion did control that game, right? And we were saying halftime, and with the way they played, they deserved the goal. But with Cebu, you could argue a bit, they were playing their game. But I think they were flirting with danger, though, because there are times where they'd sit way too deep. You know, kind of like playing with fire. Well, they got the job done. So let's see in the coming games if Cebu could just up their control of the game. Because I'd like to think Cebu's the one who adjusted. But when you normally look at the team, of course, they want to control the game. I think they can do that with their defensive approach. But that goal, they got that win with their back against the wall.
Yeah.
That is why we were stunned. You got to give credit to them. Because despite of what I just said, that was a test of character.
Yeah.
So you could say, these guys know what it's like already. It's not like they're going to get easily deflated. And, you know, that could take them a long way, this attitude of theirs. Yeah.
But this is what the PFL is all about. For me, these are the kind of games that I'll never get sick of watching week in, week out. Kung ganyan ka-intense yung mga laro, both teams really going for it. And you could argue that maybe that's one of the reasons why Stallion lost this game, whereas they could have at least taken a point at the minimum, right? Was because they went for it. They're playing a high line, they were shoving people forward, they were trying to chase the game, when in fact, there was a time where they could have been like, you know what? Let's settle for the draw. Let's take it. Let's take the point home. It was a good game between us and Cebu. But they flirted with fire and they got burned a little bit, especially with Paulos coming on, really changed the game for Cebu. And they got hit on the counter and it was very, very painful. But for the viewers, guys, sige lang. Maglaro kayo ng ganyan, di ba? Because we get this drama, a late goal like this. This is the type of emotional roller coaster that the fans, that leave an imprint on the viewers. And I think, it certainly left an imprint on me. This is not a game that I'm going to forget anytime soon. I'm sure, similarly, para dun sa mga nanonood sa Rizal Memorial Stadium and para sa mga nanonood at home, this game would have been something that will stand out for quite some time.
All-time classic. Added to that long list.
Right.
Which we could discuss one day. Yung mga classic PFL games, di ba?
And you never know how tight this game, this race is going to be. This could be something that we look back on and be like, man, you conceded 3 kicks to go. You know, you never know. So, a great game between Stallion FC and Cebu FC. And ang sabi nga ni Diego, medyo masakit para sa Stallion because of all the teams that have been playing, you could say they've shown the most potential. And they've only been able to get 1 point out of a potential 6. So, it hurts. It sucks for them, but we could say that Stallion have a lot of promise. Important to ride, that they don't get too low after these 2 disappointing results. All right, so let's move on to the third and final game on Saturday. Manila Digger back in action against Maharlika FC. On paper, it was a very tight game when you look at the result, right? We see here behind, it was a 3-2 game. But would you say the result displayed or told the story of how the match really went, Claro?
I'll say no. It was scoreline maybe a bit deceiving, right? Maharlika, you got to give kudos to them, despite of what I said. They did pounce early on in the game and try to just take the driver's seat early on. And with that, they're clinical. They got to put it away and take a 1-0 lead. That goal was a bit scrappy, but sometimes, right, hustle is what could just spell the difference. And because of that, it was Digger who were more stressed out and chasing the game in the first half when they had to get an equalizer. You know that stress where, hey, it's supposed to be us leading.
Yeah.
Right? That's what Maharlika did. And they made Digger uncomfortable. So that's what made the game a nail-biting one also.
You got to love that from Maharlika. I think there's been many seasons where Maharlika have been sort of, how should you say, the bookend of the league, right? Where you would expect that maybe a game against Maharlika is not something that you worry about which way the result is going to go. It's just going to be what the result is going to be in terms of the final scoreline. Pero the other team is a clear favorite. Now, parang nakikita natin ng Maharlika, they have this ability to throw a wrench into how things are going to go, right? So, Diego, what was your takeaway from the match between Manila Digger and Maharlika?
Yeah, I was especially impressed by Maharlika's first half because, as Clara did mention, they took the lead. It was a scrappy goal, but Uzoka took his first chance, and I believe he scored the second goal as well. So kudos to him for getting a brace. And yeah, Maharlika took the lead, and for a moment, it looked like they were in the driver's seat. Eventually, Manila Digger, we know their firepower and what they do when they're going forward, and they just responded the perfect way. For Maharlika, it's actually interesting. They lost and won their first 2 games with the same scoreline. So whenever they play, we're now going to know that there's going to be goals in their games. But for Manila Digger naman, impressive as always. Again, scored the most goals last season. And they showed that again here. A lot of chances for them, could have scored more. I think they went down to 10 men in the second half.
Late in the second half, yeah.
So they actually had to dig in deep for that second half, which is another side of the game, which is what we're not used to seeing, because we're used to seeing them score so many goals. But can you, when you're down to 10 men, dig in deep and hold on to the result? In the end, they actually scored while they were down to 10 men. So that's a very good show of character from Manila Digger. For Maharlika, signs to be encouraged. I think they have a more favorable result or favorable fixture next week. So there are signs to be encouraged for them.
The way I see it is like, these games against Maharlika could very well have a key factor or play a key factor in how the title race pans out, right? Because these are the games that you're expected to win, but Maharlika has other plans.
Can I add something, Jing?
Go ahead.
If you don't mind, yeah. We were emphasizing in the game when I called that one, Maharlika did beat Digger in the second half of last season. So Digger lost that game last season.
Right.
Digger lost to Kai by a point.
Yes.
In the championship race. So it's a bit of that, you want revenge, or is this going to be our bogey team, or is this a new rivalry forming? So I think there was a lot up for grabs in that one. And then there's Chinese influence in Manila Digger. Maharlika naman, Korean influence. East Asian Derby. You could see they were going for it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Kenji Nishoka, for example, Filipino-Japanese, but you could see him and the Koreans were really trying to go for it in that game. So, yeah, that's why we got the next level of intensity in that one.
Red card played a factor in the game. Ultimately, Manila Digger still able to eke out the win. Red card is going to become a feature in this weekend, so we'll speak more about that. But first, on that Saturday of matches, it was not only the debut of Don Bosco Garela United, but also the debut of the Quad Vision Replay. Guys,
Yeah, let's go!
balita.
Let's go!
Kamusta tayo dyan, ha? It's a new feature, and I think the folks are digging it on YouTube, and of course, may chance tayong makita talaga lahat ng different, ways of different angles to every incident, right? And we saw the Chimo Ozoka goal there. You could enjoy it in every angle possible, all simultaneously. How do you guys feel about this new feature of the broadcast?
I could start. Parang CCTV yan sa opisina. Walang lusot. I even tease direct mamaya may octocam dun eh. If people get tired of this quad cam or can't get enough. So yeah, I mean, you think you're gonna get away with something? Ka-quad cam yan.
I love that.
I'm just gonna say I wasn't aware of the plans for the quad. So the first time I saw it in your game, I was like, whoa, may bago na. I loved it so much.
I gotta appreciate that. No VAR in the Philippines Football League, but we do have the Quad Vision Replay. It's gonna be a staple. If you guys dig it, let us know, and we're gonna continue to, develop that feature for all of our matches. All right, let's move on to Sunday, shall we? We had two matches on that day, starting off with the defending champions Kaya FC Iloilo taking on Valenzuela PB Mendiola. The only two teams, I think, who have been involved in all of the match days, if I'm not mistaken. Also Manila Digger, sorry. I think they were involved in all the match days. But two teams who have played all of the weeks already. And Kaya FC Iloilo coming from a disappointing midweek fixture in the ACL2, a 3-0 defeat to Tampines Rovers. So you could expect that they were looking to bounce back in a big way. And that's exactly what they did. Kaya FC Iloilo walking away 8-0 winners on the afternoon, and it could have been more if we're going to be honest. Were you impressed by the performance? Obviously, the result is very one-sided, but was the performance equal to what you were hoping for from Kaya FC Iloilo?
Yeah, about this performance, what actually impressed me more, other than the scoreline, was that it was a slightly rotated side from Kaya, and to win a league for the fourth time, you need a strong bench. You don't just need a strong 11, you need a strong 23 or 24. And Sherwin Basandanan, who wasn't a starter, got a hat-trick. Martini Ray started up front, so no Daniels and no Joven Bedic. He got a goal. And I believe Ott scored twice, but he's usually a starter. And then Bedic scored one off the bench. So a lot of rotation from the Kaya team. And that's actually what we expected Mendiola to exploit. But yeah, it wasn't obvious that it was actually a slightly rotated team. Again, they did play the Thursday before that. So were there questions that they might be tired, but they didn't show that. First half, I think they were already up 5-0. Yeah, champions performance in general.
Sherwin Basandanan scored a hat-trick, as you mentioned. All three, bangers. Bangers only from Sherwin Basandanan. He was the man of the match in that game. Thoughts on his performance, Claro, and what else stood out to you in that contest?
Well, you don't want to be playing Kaya after a bad game. They're going to take it out on you. If Kaya will have a bad game in the PFL or whether AFC, yeah, you don't want to be the next opponent in the schedule. But for that, of course, you could say it's what you expected from Kaya, historically speaking, against Mindiola. But at the same time, if I flip it a bit, you want to see improved play from Mindiola. It's like a challenge to them. They've been at the bottom of the standings for quite some time, or in the previous edition, so you expect better than them. Give the defending champs a run for their money, right? Score-wise, just if you look at it in like a plain perspective, maybe a walk in the park because of the scoreline, right? But Mindiola made them work for that. We are aware, right? With the way things got chippy in the end also of the game. I'll put it that way.
Things did get a bit physical in this one. In fact, both teams ended up with only 10 players on the pitch. That's going to ripple down to the rest of the league because obviously there's going to be players suspended, and that's going to have implications on the next matches. But let's stick a little bit with Valenzuela PB Mendiola. No, I mean, they got their first win against Philippine Army. They lost big against Manila Digger on opening day. We felt like maybe natutunan na nila yung lesson nila and that they're going to be an improved side. But it was very much one-way traffic against Kaya. And as you mentioned, there seems to be quite a few things that they need to tweak. Any ideas where to start and what that needs to be done in order for them to improve next week?
Well, actually, when I spoke to their coaching staff before the game started, so Natasha and I went down to the dugout and spoke to the coaches, they actually did mention that because at the time, it's closed now, but at the time, the transfer window was approaching the deadline. It was like a day before the deadline. And the coach did say that there are still going to be reinforcements that aren't registered yet. And there was actually a couple debuts also in that Kaya game for Valenzuela PB Mendiola. So I am expecting that in the coming weeks, there are going to be more new players. There was actually, Natasha and I looked at the team sheet. We're like, who's this? So that's why we went down to the dugout. We asked them, who are these players? They're new signings.
Right.
And the coach in particular said there are also unregistered signings. So I am expecting that that could be one way that they bolster their squad so that these type of results don't repeat too much this season.
So you're saying there's a chance that there's going to be some changes for Mendiola. We look forward to seeing what that might be. Anything else that you wanted to add to that game?
With that, we unpacked everything,
Right?
I will say. Sorry kung wala na.
Suspension is going to be a big deal because we're going to talk about the two teams involved next. Actually, there's a big game next weekend. We'll talk about it in a little while. But there is going to be no new left back for Kaya FC Iloilo. What's his name?
Magnus Tafner.
Magnus Tafner. What's the other name? There was another name. We were like Raven.
It's R-A-V-N, but it's Ron, right?
Ron, not Raven, guys.
Not Raven.
Okay?
Yeah.
So just throw that away. The V is just there. It's not to be said, okay? So Ron, but he likes to be referred to as
Magnus Tafner.
Okay, we're gonna say
I'm getting scared. All of a sudden I want to play the recording
Magnus
of David Dumont.
Tafner. Okay, we're gonna say that name a couple times
Magnus,
already, so
yeah.
you guys can lock it in because he's not gonna be around for the next two games. Suspended for a big one against Cebu. We'll talk about that in a bit. But first, the big one on Sunday between Taguig and Aguilas Yumac. It's a kind of game that if you were asked to predict it, you might say this has got a draw written all over it. Did you predict a draw by any chance?
I think I said a Taguig win, so hindi magagalit si Patrick Reichel sa akin.
Okay. How big was the what was your prediction?
If I recall, I can bring it on my phone. I believe 2-0. Someone can correct me if I'm
Not bad.
wrong.
Not bad.
Close.
Personally, if I was to have had a prediction, it would have been a little bit closer. Maybe like a 1-0, maybe a 0-0. Diego, were you surprised at how one-sided this game turned out to be?
To be honest, I was. Because I was expecting Aguilas to be more eager to show that their good performance against Kaya, which came the week before, could be replicated against another big rival. Then when the game started, I saw possession was all to Taguig. Then I said, okay, maybe Aguilas are trying to hit on the break. Then Taguig take a goal. An own goal, actually. Andres Aldiger created it, and he's having a really good start to the season, by the way. And once they go down, Aguilas Yumac, their game plan was a little bit unclear because if they plan to play without possession, you have to throw that out the window once you go down. But it was still Taguig who dominated possession. Then it was a game of mistakes also from Aguilas because the second goal in particular was an easy goal for Agiemang. I think Reichelt nicked the ball off a defender. I think it was Amarilla, and Agiemang had an open goal. So if you're Aguilas, it's a concerning performance, and I think the most concerning part was that penalty right before halftime because Amita gave Aguilas a lifeline. Penalty right before halftime. You go into the halftime break with the momentum. Deficit is halved, and you can chase the game in the second half. But he went for a panenka, and when you go for a panenka and it doesn't go off, it's not something you'll ever want to see again. And I think that was the moment that deflated the whole Aguilas team. And for Juan Taguig, what a start, because it's Cebu and Aguilas' first 2 games, 6 points. So that's a really powerful statement to the rest of the league.
Coach Jorg, right? And the battle between him and Coach Scott Cooper, yun yung pinag-usapan natin the week prior. We were excited to see it, and the result says it was a win by Scott Cooper. To you, what was the key to victory for Juan Taguig, Claro?
For me, I think simple. Also, just a matter of playing it your game, right? You're the one making the opponent uncomfortable. And let's remember, Aguilas are getting that baptism of fire, right? They overhauled that roster, new coach and everything.
Here, let's take a look at this Panenka real quick. Arnel Amita, you know he wants to do something audacious. He's known for a moment of magic, and he wants to get them back into the game in a nice way. It just goes over.
Man, that hurts.
And the goalkeeper's having a word with him too, you know, just to let him know as well, like, susubukan mo pa ako i-embarrass, ha? Yeah, so Arnel Amita, tough one, right? And as Diego mentioned, medyo game changer siya eh. Kasi parang feeling nyo, may chance na tayong makapasok, balik sa laro na to, tapos na-mintis yung perfect opportunity there at the end. We take a look at some of the predictions. Vinny said 3-1 to Juan Taguig. Eat, Sleep, Breathe Football, 2-0 for Juan Taguig as well. So everybody's going for the win for Juan Taguig. But please finish your thought there, Claro.
I went 2-0, by the way.
All right, not far away. Not far away.
Yeah, so with that, of course, I know that Juan Taguig pretty much changed their squad also, and then they also have a new coach, but there's still those core players from the last season.
Yeah.
So parang may continuity pa rin.
Yeah.
And that situation, of course, when what I really got to watch in detail, of course, with the Aguilas was the game against Kaya. You could still see they're still getting that grasp on the system of Coach Jorg. So my warm-up pa dyan eh. So it'll be up to them to see if they could execute what they want as we carry on with the season.
Yeah.
Tough schedule, right, for Aguilas?
Tough.
Kaya and then Juan Taguig.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you don't want to get your build-up in the season and you get your baptism of fire right away, but you got to deal with those cards. What hurts is that goalless, right? In 180 minutes?
Yun lang,
Yes.
But you have to say, though, if you're talking about baptism of fire, same can be said for Juan Taguig, but they've passed with flying colors. Patrick Reichelt, in particular, has been sensational alongside Andres Aguilar.
Aldeguer.
Oh, my God.
Got you, Jake.
What happened there? Thanks, guys. Aldeguer has been on fire as well. So kudos to Scott Cooper and the rest of the gang. Well done to Juan Taguig. And happy birthday to Daisuke Sato, by the way. I'm sure he's very pleased. All right. We are 70 minutes into the match between Kong An and Cebu. Still 0-0. Last I checked, was still early in the match, but Cebu not having a lot of possession in that one, but holding firm with 20 minutes to go. So well done to Cebu. All right.
We don't know
go
if Rico's in the game, right? Baka ma-Rico time yan in the end.
That's what you gotta love though, right?
Rico
diba?
time, hashtag.
Kahit kailan, meron silang chance, basta na dyan si Rico Andes. Right? So let's take a look at the table right now. 3 weeks into the PFL season, and it's starting to shape up. Medyo nagkakaroon na ng form itong league standings natin. Philippine Army, Aguilas, Don Bosco Guerrilla United at the bottom 3. Stallion Laguna, tough. You're in 8th after playing so well in your first 2 games. Still, they're even below Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, who've already gotten the first 3 points. But that top 3, right? You're looking at Kaya FC, Iloilo, Manila Digger FC, and Juan Taguig. They're in those top 3 places. Those might be positions that they don't relinquish for quite some time based on the performances na nakita natin so far. Is that fair to say?
I think so. For Juan Taguig, I think in this table, Juan Taguig are the biggest winners because you can say Kaya have been perfect, wins and no goals conceded, but it's who won Taguig have won against direct rivals that make it such a good opening 2 weeks from them. And the top three, I am so interested in this because we're going to get the meeting between the first two of them really soon. We'll get more on that later. But yeah, I think this table is not fully the way we're going to see it yet this season because there are, for example, we see Aguilas, Stallion. I think they'll still recover. A bit concerning that there are still, there's a big team in Aguilas that actually haven't scored a goal yet, as Claro mentioned, and they're winless. So I think this table will still chop and change for the most part, but the top three, as you mentioned, Jing, the top three might be similar for the rest of the season.
Places 4, 5, and 6, Tuloy, Maharlika, and Cebu. Tuloy and Maharlika don't spend a lot of time in the top half. You never know. They could keep those places. Claro, your thought on the league standings?
For me, I think we'll really get that pecking order when everyone gets to play about 5-6 games.
Right.
But I'm not saying that we could invalidate this.
Yeah.
Because after all, as much as I said, for example, Aguilas are still trying to warm up. But when you look at the big picture, you want to get that result every single time so that you get a head start when it's time for the championship round. So that you have like that handicap that favors you. So that you're not cramming or chasing results, right? So yeah, I think we'll get a clear picture around 5-6 games each into the season.
Still early days in the 2025-26 season. Still a lot of changing expected in how the league standings transpire. All right, so that is the end of the recap of last weekend's matches. All highlights and videos, all highlight videos and videos on demand are available on our YouTube channel, or the PFL YouTube channel. That is on youtube.com/wearepfl. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. All right. Behind me, by the way, look how beautiful this is. Cebu.
Ding, ding, ding.
Dynamic Herbs Cebu FC, who are in action right now. Best of luck to them. Gave us a shirt so that we could display it on our show. Just 10 more jerseys na lang. Hihingi namin, so that we could also feature all of the teams. And we know you guys watch the show, so don't pretend like you don't know that we're asking for it, all right? But we'd love to be able to feature all of the teams if possible. Yeah? So shout out to Cebu. Thank you for hooking us up with our first one of the show. All right? So before we move on, special thank you to our drinks partner, Thirst. Okay, kick off with savings this football season. Use the code PFL2025 on the Thirst app for special discounts. Thirst is the Philippines' only beverage marketplace. Download the Thirst app wherever you get your apps. Fantastic. Okay, we have our question of the day, and we look forward to all of your responses. We are so eager to hear from you. This is the question for this week. Gaano nyo kadalas iniisip ang football? Probably too much if you're like us, right? Ano ang hinahanap, pinapanood nyo kapag naaalala nyo ang football? So, where do you get your football? It's more of the questions of the day, but you get the gist, right? We want to hear from you. You get a feeler of how much football plays, a factor in your life and in your mind space. And how do you quench that thirst, so to speak? And that's what we're trying to get a gauge on. So while Claro's having a look at the responses, I'm going to start with Diego. I'm going to jump to you, Claro. What are your answers to these questions?
Well, where do I get my football? The answer is I'm very thankful that we are in the part of the year where all the seasons in any part of the world are starting or have already started.
Right.
So obviously we have the PFL, and I try to watch all the games. If I can't, I try to watch the highlights, which you guys should also watch on our YouTube channel.
That's right.
But when I'm not watching PFL, there's other leagues in the Philippines. There's Angliga, there's UAP, which just started also.
That's right.
And then when it's night, obviously, and there are no games in the Philippines, I try to watch as much Premier League as possible. I also try to
You're
watch...
Chelsea fan, no?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, I watched the game last weekend. I was really not happy about that game. And yeah, but other than the Premier League, I also try to watch the J League because, like the PFL, they also stream all their games for free on YouTube.
Nice.
Which you can also watch, and Japan's much more time zone friendly for a Filipino fan. So I also watch a lot of Asian football. But other than that, in general, whenever there's a football game on TV or on my laptop and it's free, I'll watch it. I don't care what league it is as long as it's a nice game.
Right, Diego, you're consuming a lot of football, buddy. Well done. Claro?
Let's give a comment here, I will say. I think Martini said, I play football manager pag off-season ng PFL. That's pretty cool. Mamaya maging scout siya ng for PFL team or
Who's this?
whoever. This is Martini Luini.
Oh,
yeah,
kala ko si Martini Ray.
Oh.
Kala ko the player.
That guy hits the gym in the off-season for sure, Martini Ray. Nang kaya. Yeah, shout out to Luis Manabat. Yeah, he's just been commenting, man.
Luis.
He didn't really answer the question. He just said he wants a Cebu jersey.
Don't we all? But what is your answer to this, Claro?
Wow, for me, so pretty much, I just consume PFL during the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say. But when it is international break, I'll put in that extra effort. I'm going to be at the stadium to watch our men's national team or even the women's team. I'm going to watch that game in detail. I'm going to shut everything off and I'm going to watch that game, of course. That's as close as it gets to like being in commentary mode. But it's just me watching the game, of course. I'll watch it live at the stadium. I get home, I'm gonna watch it again, the replay.
Wow.
On demand. Yeah. And that's gonna be international break, right? So particularly with the men's international break, I'm gonna try and check on our ASEAN neighbors. I'm gonna see, are they gonna play against big names?
Yeah.
And see how they're doing, of course, because after all, we gotta be the best in the region first before we just hopefully conquer Asia.
Right.
Pretty much what I do, yeah.
Right. For me, thanks for asking, guys.
I mean, you run the show, Jing.
Don't worry about it. I'm going to go ahead and answer. Football really does consume a lot of my headspace, and a lot of that has to do with, obviously, our league here. It's been my life for a very long time, and it still occupies a lot of, thought in terms of how teams are progressing, how could they be better, how are we doing regionally, and what is necessary for us to bridge the gap and things of that nature. And if I have that football fix, then we do have at our fingertips now everything that you want to watch. You want to watch a game back fully, you want to just watch the highlights, you want to just scope out how a particular player played. You could reach out to one of their analysts if you're lucky and get like clips that are made specifically for just a particular player. It's great, that we have all of this access. And other than that, though, it's Manchester United for me. That I watch that, and because I'm a glutton for misery, right? Feel the pain, and then from time to time you get drip fed with a win against Chelsea, and you're like, guys, this is it. But then next week it's probably going to be pain all over again. But it is
ASEAN All-Stars, let's go.
what it is.
I know it's been a while, but that's a good win for ASEAN.
All right, so shout out to Calvasef, Bisdox, Ruff, Dave, Martini, Luini, and Luis. Thank you guys for commenting and always interacting with us here on the Minsan Football Show and all of the matches as well. We appreciate you guys so much. So this weekend's matchups, all games will be live streamed at youtube.com/WeArePFL. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when the games are on. We've got 3 matches on Saturday. As usual, it's becoming a habit now, right? We know a triple header on a Saturday, on a Sunday, we've got a double header. And we've got, to start things off, Don Bosco Garelli, trying to ramp up their season up against Maharlika FC. That's a match that could be very interesting. We've got Army back in action against Aguilas, who are still looking for their first goal. Manila Digger versus Taguig. That is going to be the blockbuster for Saturday evening. On Sunday, we've got Kaya FC taking on Cebu FC. Ooh-wee.
Another big one.
Ooh-wee. Tuloy FC taking on Stallion Laguna at 7 p.m. A very intriguing matchup on Sunday. Let's start off with Saturday's matches. Don Bosco Garelli contra Maharlika FC. I'm going to start with Claro this time around. What are your thoughts heading into this contest?
Bounce back day. Yeah, simple as this. You want to play catch up already, and this is the perfect time, of course. Both teams, maybe Maharlika, the more positive team, bouncing off what Diego said. Yes, Maharlika won a game already, but they conceded goals. They lost the game, but they got to score goals. So at least there's something for them that they could take away. There's that promising play. Let the few weeks go by, right? And I'm sure they're embracing the new system that they have with their coach. So I think this is the prime opportunity for them. Garelli maybe 3-0. So baka gigil pa yung mga boys for Garelli. So this might just favor Maharlika, and this will be their chance, you think, to climb the ladder. But never count out Garelli. Yeah.
One aspect that we have to consider, sarado na yung transfer window. So this is it, right? We're talking about getting a gauge of these teams. These are the squads that we're going to have until the start of the new year. So, Diego, your thoughts on Don Bosco, Garelli taking on Maharlika?
Yeah, as Clara said, it's time for them, or it's the opportunity for them to bounce back. Again, they did make a few signings before the deadline shut, and we'll see who those are before this game starts. I think for Don Bosco, it's going to be a bit of a challenge because Maharlika do score goals. They do score goals, but what they can exploit in this game is Maharlika do concede goals as well. They conceded twice against Tuloy and then 3 against Manila Digger. And for them, it's going to be a chance. Maybe 3 points is a lot to ask for, but maybe you could sneak in a draw somewhere, get your points of the season, get your first goal of the season actually. So I think there's enough room for uncertainty in this game for Don Bosco Garelli to actually think that they can get something.
Right. So, not one way or the other, not very clear, right? For you, Clara, you think Maharlika might have the edge, but we're expecting a tight match in that one. And if you want to get a gauge of the two teams, definitely a match to look out for, right? Are these two teams going to be, on the bottom half, or is Maharlika actually going to take a crack at the top 6 as is their goal for this season, right? Now at 5:45, you have Army versus Aguilas. Philippine Army, we've raved about them. They have not gotten any results, but we've seen a huge improvement from them. Now we're up against an Aguilas side na medyo wild card. Hindi natin sigurado kung ano yung makikita natin. They were pretty impressive against Kaya. They struggled against in their last outing against Taguig, and they haven't scored any goals, right? So what are the expectations heading into this match between Army and Aguilas?
So these are two teams that lost their first 2 and haven't scored. So thankfully for one of those teams, that record is gonna end, or maybe both if it ends in a draw. But
0-0, no lungkot. Lungkot para sa lahat.
That's what everyone's gonna say after the game if it happens.
Okay, well, I hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, again, Army did have actually a week off. So maybe they're a bit more rested than Aguilas. But again, it's not too much of a break because not too much of a factor because Aguilas will also get a 1-week break. For Aguilas naman, this has to be where they get off because to lose or not win your first 3 games would be a really nightmarish start. For Army, there's enough uncertainty also in this Aguilas team for them to say that maybe we can get something here because as we saw in the past 2 weeks, Aguilas, especially against Taguig, they were dominated. And there's might just be a little bit of uncertainty and a little bit of low morale in that Aguilas side for anyone else, including Army, to take advantage of.
Kumbaga, if there was a time to face them, now would be a good time where Aguilas are kind of a wounded animal. Your thoughts on this?
It could work both ways. One could be, hey, we're going up against a team, Army. They've conceded a lot of goals already. Let's go. They could have that psychological, you don't say advantage, but they're locked in. They're hungry. Or you could go, hey, going back, right? Also what you said and what I mentioned. Oh no, guys, we haven't scored in 180 minutes. We haven't scored in 2 games. Now's the time. And then while you're doing that, you're overeager. You're not really going through the motions. So you're getting anxious. You're pressuring yourself, and then it's becoming that mental game. So that's the worst case scenario, I think, for Aguilas. And then with Army, as we know, the underdog, what if they spring up a surprise with this? Hey guys, we kind of have nothing to lose here, and let's knock Aguilas out of their game. Let's be physical. Yeah.
I don't
go
think
figure.
Army are all that well rested. They're well rested from PFL action, but I believe they were in action in the Armed Forces Olympics. Now, I think that is the case. I think September 18, around that, was when they went back into action. So I'm thinking, or sometime in midweek, no? So I'm thinking they might be, not completely fresh, but you never know. They might be flying high if they had done well in the Olympics. But definitely a game to keep an eye on because Army could pour on the misery of Aguilas, or this could be the start of Aguilas' climb. You never know. 5:45, check it out. Rizal Memorial Stadium.
Sorry, can I add something with Army? One thing is, let's remember, of course, they're servicemen. So I do recall them saying in Copa, I don't remember if it was Coach Boogie who said, they still do their usual duties. So these guys are putting in a shift. They do their work. Then after that's when they play football.
Yeah.
But these guys are really, really fit, right? So they're fresh when they still show up for the games. But
Shout out to Boogie Margarsi, by the way, who
yeah,
is
legend.
seasoned as seasoned veterans come, but still quality, real quality on the pitch whenever he's out there. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what Army has on the table for Aguilas. But then at 8:30 p.m. is the big one. Manila Digger, perennial runners up in the previous season. They're really looking to take that next step, but they're up against a Taguig side that, when you look at the form table, perhaps just the pinnacle right now. Back-to-back wins against tough contenders. Taguig are looking really good, Claro. What do you think? Do you think they're going to be able to make it 3 in a row against a team like Manila Digger?
Whatever answer I say, yari ako sa kanila. If I say Digger, Patrick Rashel's gonna get mad. If I say Taguig, magagalit si Sekou Cisse. He's gonna be on me. But with this, I'd like to think Manila Digger have yet to click. Taguig got to click already. So I'll favor Taguig in this scenario. Yeah, I'll put it that way, simple as this. And this is a matchup where you look down the line, whoever loses, they're gonna look back at this one. Oh, we're here. We're playing catch up in the standings because we lost this game. So that's why this is gonna be one of those high caliber games, like what we've been seeing in the previous weeks.
I look at this match and it feels like it's gonna be a gauge, really, of how this title race is gonna pan out, and it's gonna set a marker for the league in what to expect in terms of quality for the rest of the season. It's a big one, Diego. One of the biggest that we've seen in this first round. Manila Digger versus Taguig. It promises to be pretty explosive.
Yeah, it's second versus third. By the way, you want to give the update?
I saw you there. You made a face there, and I see the reason why. 89th minute, Kong and Hanoi have scored against Cebu. Rico Andes scored for Kong.
Ayun, na-shoot sa kabila.
Joke lang. Unfortunately, na Rico Andes ang Cebu with a late goal from Kong and Hanoi. Of course, this is a game that's being played in Vietnam, so I'm sure the crowd is going wild over there in Vietnam at the moment. But that's a brutal one. Tough for Cebu. Hopefully they find a miracle here with a minute and added time to go. Sorry to cut you off there, Diego.
Yeah, well, for this last game in particular, Manila Digger versus Taguig, it's second versus third, which is always going to be a treat for any fan of the PFL. So do come to Rizal to watch this game, or if you can't, catch it online. I really can't split this one because there are signs for both teams that they can take all 3 points here. Manila Digger, again, they score goals. That's what we know that they do. But again, they did dig in deep against Maharlika. For Taguig, on the other hand, what a start to the season this is. Imagine if you get wins against Cebu, Aguilas, and Manila Digger. That puts you up there already in 3 6-pointers against rivals. So there's a lot to lose here if you're either side. And that's probably why I'm going to play it safe. I think this is going to end as a draw.
Choose someone, man. You just don't want our friends to get mad at you.
The thing we've seen from Manila Digger is they've been hot and cold. And they haven't, as you said, clicked quite yet.
Yeah.
But they're always dangerous. And that's why you always tune into a Manila Digger game, because you never know what's going to happen, right? But there's always a potential for magic from their team. And they're up against, again, Taguig that is flying. And Patrick Reichelt, a goal and assist again. I believe, did he score a goal?
Yeah, penalty.
Yeah, right?
Penalty in the end, yeah.
The guy is on fire upon his return to the Philippines. So you never know if he's going to be able to make it 3 straight games. Difficult to bet against Patrick Reichelt. Now, let's move on to Sunday, September 28th. A couple matches in this one, starting off with an absolute banger between Kaya FC Iloilo and Cebu, Dynamic Herb Cebu. That's a growing rivalry in the Philippines Football League already, and it promises to be another great chapter in the history between these two teams. Claro, your thoughts heading into this one?
Can we hear that banger thing next game? That's your signature.
Ano ko na-inspire ako kay Dave eh. Minsan eh.
Oh yeah, yung bububu, diba?
The stadium announcer, killer.
Yeah,
If you...
tropa natin Dave. Yeah, always playing fire music, by the way, in the Rizal Memorial. So, sorry, nag-off topic ako. But we'll get with Kaya Cebu, is that right?
That's right, Kaya Cebu.
It's always a good one also, Kaya and Cebu. Just like, I forgot to mention last time, basta Stallion Cebu and then Cebu Kaya, good ones. Expectations always high. Not saying we're trying to pressure the players, of course. But it will be a similar one also with that Manila Digger, Taguig matchup. Get one over the other, and then you will have, not a head start, but you will have that advantage heading into the second round and possibly heading into the third round, because this is what it's all about if you really want to clinch your AFC or Shopee Cup spots. You're supposed to win the games that you're supposed to win against lower ranked teams, and then in games like these where it's arguably 50-50, just gotta grab it. And that virtually, or to oversimplify it, that's what pretty much seals your fate when it comes to playing overseas football again.
No Danish left back for Kaya on this one. You wonder if that's going to be a key problem for the defending champions, or will they continue in their good form? One thing that we have seen is that they only scored a solitary goal against the Aguilas. Of course, they've rolled over the sides that they are expected to beat. Meanwhile, Cebu have proven to be a pretty difficult nut to crack. So it's all set up rather interestingly. Is there anything in particular that you're looking at that might you feel be the key to this match going one way or the other?
Well, for Kaya, they'll have to exploit the fact that Cebu are playing right now. And they're playing their starting 11, their first 11, quote unquote, and there's travel involved. Mm-hmm. So Kaya have to exploit the fact that Cebu might not be at 100% come this game. At the same time, Cebu will be hoping that, similarly to their game last week against Stallion, that they keep it tight, that it's scrappy, the one's in full control, and then you can nick a goal or two with maybe Rico Andes towards the end. I think this match is slightly favoring Kaya because, as I did mention, Cebu are playing right now, and there's travel involved, playing their first 11, while Kaya actually played a rotated squad last week. So in terms of fitness or fatigue rather, Kaya will have the advantage, and I think that just might be the slight edge for this one.
Quick question, for those who played in that rotated lineup for Kaya against Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, who deserves to stay in the starting 11?
Well, the strongest case will be Basindanan, because you get a hat trick. That's the strongest case you could make as an attacker to start the next game. But also keeping an eye out for Martini Ray and Gavin Wenz, who played really well also against Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. I think Coach Yu is going to have a headache in a good way, because it's always good if you have a good 23 players in your rotation. I think Basindanan, he's going to make the strongest case for this one.
Do you know, I was watching the highlights today, and when Basindanan scored the first one, I was like, is that Joven?
No.
Doesn't he kind of he looks like the next coming of Joven Bidik, and the way he's a killer as well inside the box. Maybe that's just
You know, they're neighbors, right?
Is that
Growing
right?
up in Baratak Nuevo.
There you go.
When I covered Sherwin's games in the UAP, sino idol mo? Joven Bidik. Bakit? Siya kapitbahay ko. Angas, no? Who gets to say they're next door neighbors? Joven Bidik.
Yeah, I gotta love that, Kaya FC, Iloilo, of course. The Iloilo influence, the Ilonggo influence continues to grow within the squad, and Sherwin is making a case to be maybe the next star from that province. Were you impressed with what he showed? I mean, obviously 3 goals is a lot, but the overall performance, perhaps, does it warrant him getting playing time here against Cebu?
I'm not impressed because I know he's walking the talk. If you get where I'm coming from, that's his quality. Sherwin's figuring in that stacked lineup, right, of Kaya. So if he gets a chance, he's going to do it. He's just going to do that. So no surprise, of course.
Right.
But for me, maybe probable, if I could just answer that question also, My best guess might be Martini, inserting him in the midfield as that facilitator to possibly help out because I'm expecting a stubborn Cebu defense again.
Right.
You guys are going to have to deal with Daniel Gadya, hard-nosed guys like that. So it's going to take a lot of creativity from Kaya if they want to get this result.
One of the
over
things
Cebu.
that I've been most impressed with, when you're talking about a hard-nosed defense, obviously Daniel Gadia, he's the holding midfielder, but playing just in front of one of the youngest back lines I've seen in the league, and so good. Like, they play at a maturity that is beyond their years, and I believe they're all starting as well in this match in the Shopee Cup. So they're getting that vital experience to play at such a high level. I'm talking about Brian Villanueva, you've got Kaja Mirul, and Noah Liddell. Batang-bata yung mga players ito. None of them are, what, 23?
The U23.
Right? I mean, Brian Villanueva is
National
19. Kaja Mirul is 21. Noah Liddell is in the under-23s as well. So young guys, but already playing at such a high level and being exposed to that continental level of play. They're only going to get better, you think, right? And now another big game against Kaya, you expect they're going to get another good crack at it. Where do they go from here? You expect from these three. Have you been surprised at their capabilities so young in their career?
Yes, and that's a good thing because they're so young, as you mentioned. And I think they're playing with a little bit of extra motivation because, as we do know, the international window is not too far away. And I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if I think there's two more match days before the international window.
Right.
I would not be surprised if a certain Carlos Cuadrat graces his presence in this weekend's PFL because it's now the window for those coaches and the national team setup to find players in the local league who may be good enough to jump up. So I'm sure the likes of Noah Ledel, Gavin Wentz, Amirul in this game, they'll really want to perform more because they are stalwarts in the under-23 team. Can they maybe jump to the senior team? Might as well do it in this game and might as well do it right before the international window.
That's a very good point. And if you are a coach and you're looking for games to watch, you can't watch them all, but Kaya versus Cebu, certainly a match that makes sense. There's a lot of players that could be in and amongst your radar that could catch the eye and make their way into the national team setup. Of course, a game coming up in October. That one's on the 14th, I believe, and that one's going to be at New Clark City. Prior to that, they'll be traveling to play against Timor-Leste. So, good point that you brought up there. Now, let's move on to the final match of the weekend, 7 o'clock on Sunday. Tuloy FC riding a high, 3-0 winners, going up against a wounded Stallion Laguna. We've only managed a point in their last two outings. Both games, I would argue, they deserve to win based on their performances alone. But they have an opportunity now to get that first win. Do you think they'll be able to overcome this Tuloy FC side that plays in such a free-flowing, fluid manner? Claro.
Yeah, I can go. So, with Stallion, they had tough matchups to start the season, right? Let's put it that way. Playing teams who are in that championship tier, you could say, for the breakout. But historically speaking, when Stallion face a team that's lower ranked in paper, with all due respect, of course, they put them away. They get those convincing wins. When I say convincing wins, they get huge scorelines. So I will favor Stallion in this one. But obviously, don't mess with Tuloy, right? Mess with one guy, you're gonna mess with the whole team. Yeah, you dispossess one of the Tuloy boys, they're gonna clamp you, right? That's what brotherhood's about when in that system of Tuloy FC. And with Stallion, remember what I said about Aguilas earlier? Playing Army, where this is a game where they have to bounce back already. On paper, you're facing a weaker team. On paper, I always say. All of a sudden, those nerves might set in. What if that will happen to Stallion? But again, historically speaking, with the previous games, even in the last season where they play teams who are below them, you could argue in rank, Stallion's able to, below in rank, or when you can say talent, Stallion puts it away easily. What I will say, before I forget, this is gonna be the last game before someone returns to Stallion.
Who?
You wanna guess?
Stefan Schock?
Oh no, he's coming back after suspension. I'm gonna open my phone to be sure, of course. But we did have a good conversation about that situation of Schrock, right?
Schrock,
You got to speak to him personally.
That's right.
Due to visa and
Oh, I heard about this.
due to visa and league registration, someone's coming back to Stallion after the Tuloy game.
Really?
I heard about this.
Ben McDaniel.
Oh!
Yeah. And he said, you guys better mention that on your podcast.
Oh, there you go.
There you go, Ben.
Exclusive
Yeah.
over here on the Minsan Football Show. But that's massive because, goals have been difficult to come by for them. And it's certainly, they've had everything going for them, but the cutting edge in front of goal, perhaps something to improve upon. The main thing that you have to think about here between Tuloy FC and Stallion, at least to me, is the physicality of the game. Stallion, incredibly physical, incredibly intense in the way they approach a match. And they were able to hold their own in their last outing against Garelli. But is Stallion a step too far in that regard? Or kaya na ba nila maglaro with grown men? I guess we're going to find out in this one. Diego, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're Stallion FC Laguna, you're gonna have to look at the fact, what do we have over Tuloy? And that's obviously height and strength. And Tuloy showed this season, they can play against a taller team. 3-2 loss to Maharlika. But in the end, it was 3 set pieces that Maharlika scored against Tuloy. 2 corners and 1 free kick. So I think Stallion probably would have scouted that game. Probably would have scouted the Don Bosco game as well. But I think if you're Stallion, that's your avenue for this game. And I think if you're Tuloy, that's a little bit of your kryptonite. Let's see if they've improved from when they faced the other taller team in Maharlika for their opening match.
Antilo is going to need to have another great game for Tuloy FC to keep out a Stallion Laguna side that, results aside, have actually been flying so far this season. Now, the 2027 AFC Asian Cup qualifiers continue with the Philippines taking on Timor-Leste. October 14 will be the match at the New Clark City Stadium in Tarlac. That is a 7 p.m. kickoff. So we encourage everybody to head on over to New Clark City for that one. Anybody making the trip?
Yeah, I'm making the trip, yeah.
Yeah? Exciting times. I understand there are free tickets available. You have to look for the PFF Facebook page and the Philippine Men's National Team Facebook page. They're also providing transportation. So head on over to those social media accounts and figure out your plans for that week, and make sure you go over there and support the men's national team. Still having a great opportunity to make their way and qualify into the Asian Cup. So best of luck to our boys, and wishing them all the best heading into that one. Games will be at the Rizal Memorial Stadium for the PFL matches this weekend. So we encourage everybody to make your way to the stadium. If you can't, then there's also the YouTube channel, We Are PFL. So make sure to check that out on YouTube. And we are also encouraging everybody to follow us on TikTok, right? If you get enough subscribers, you might be able to go live. So check out the TikTok page of PFL. It is _WeArePFL_. That's right. It is bookended by underscores. _WeArePFL_. Don't forget. We also encourage everybody to subscribe to Upstream Sports TV for more emerging sports live streams and features, and so you never miss a Minsan Football Show episode. All right? And to close off our show, special thank you once more to our drinks partner, Thirst. Thank you, Thirst, for sponsoring us here. Kickoff with savings this football season. Use code PFL2025 on the Thirst app for special discounts. Thirst is the Philippines' only beverage marketplace. Download Thirst wherever you get your apps. All right. Once again, my name is Jing Hamlang. I was joined today by Claro Manzano and Diego Cordero. A pleasure, boys, as always. Catch us again on the next installment of the Minsan Football Show presented by Upstream Sports TV. Next week, I believe, right?
Yeah.
We should be on here next week, right? But we hope to see you guys all for this weekend's matches. All right, so that's it for us. Thank you for watching.
Losers.
Goodbye.
Thanks, man.